Hello and welcome to the Superhero Hub. I'm Sam.
I'm not
And today, yep, you guessed it, we're going to be opening up,
the superhero files.
yep, and do tell what page we're going to be turning to this fine day.
Carnage.
Yep. Obviously, in a previous episode, we did Venom, so we thought it's only right we do Carnage as well. So, you know how it is, we're going to give you nothing but facts. Right, so Carnage, aka Cletus Kasady. That's Cletus with a C and Cassidy with a K. First appearance as Cletus in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 344 in March 1991. His first.
Actually, I think this might be what you're saying. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was Cletus Kasady.
Yeah, that's what I just
And then
said.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because Carnage. I don't know how big the gap was. I think it was about a year though.
Let me finish.
Absolutely.
Right. And as Carnage in the Amazing Spider-Man in April 1992. So yeah, it was 13 months later that Venom appeared.
Carnage.
Along with Venom, the character belongs to a race of amorphous
Say it with confidence.
extraterrestrial parasites known as,
Symbiotes.
yeah, or the symbiotes, and he is ranked as 90th on IGN's greatest comic book villains of all time. Right, so writer David Mechelin created Carnage to be a darker version of Venom, and when they intended to have Eddie Brock killed off in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 400, and obviously they wanted a symbiote to continue to bond with a series of hosts in the absence of Venom and Carnage. But Eddie Brock and Venom's popularity increased, so Marvel wouldn't allow him to kill him off, even though I think it would have been a great show of faith if they did that.
No,
At the height of the popularity.
it's stupid. You can't do that in comic books.
Yeah, because if you bring it back in like a year.
That's what they always do. I mean, you might as well carry on, plow on. I think it worked out the best. What they did was push Venom into the anti-hero position it was going to be, because he was incredibly popular at the time, and then make a villain out of it, and that's what they got with Carnage.
Yeah, because that's a differentiation, because obviously Venom at times has shown anti-hero traits, so they decided, let's bring someone in who can't be kind of any time be seen as like a good person, so it's like, let's get the dregs of humanity. So yeah, they created a character, a total psychopath who, unlike Venom, had no sense of morality. The character's name originally was meant to be Chaos, and then Ravage before settling on Carnage, which is a pretty sick name. Cletus Kasady was designed by Eric Larson and was modelled after which DC character?
Joker.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need me to tell you that. It's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I got it written down. I just wanted to see what you were popping. Right, here's a main villain of the 1993 crossover Maximum Carnage, a 14-point storyline that featured through all Spider-Man titles at that time. In 1996, he starred in two one-shot comics centered entirely around him, entitled Carnage Mind Bomb and Carnage It's a Wonderful Life. In 2004, in the New Avengers, the character was presumed dead and was absent for 6 years. In the 2010 to 2011 limited series, the symbiote returned with a female host before reunited with Cassidy. But we'll get onto the different hosts and things of Carnage a little later on. So, backstory into the character now. Cletus Kasady is a psychopath and a homicidal sadist. He's a deeply disturbed individual with a dark past. As a child, he killed his grandmother by pushing her down the stairs.
Yeah.
And then he tried to kill his mother by throwing a hairdryer into the bath while she was having a bath. He tortured and killed his family dog with a drill. Then his mum tried to kill him, and then his father ended up, I think, slapping her up and beat her after death. So he ended up going to trial, and Cletus just, didn't get involved. So he was pretty much orphaned, where he was sent to an orphanage where he was kind of still exhibiting kind of booky behaviour. He killed one of the administrators and then pushed a girl in front of a bus for laughing at him. When he left there, he went on to become a serial killer and was sent to Rikers Island, aka the Big House, for 11 kills, but claimed a dozen more, where he was introduced. Who was his cellmate?
Eddie Brock.
Yeah. So when the Venom symbiote came back to bond with Eddie Brock so he could escape, a bit of it dropped off the Offspring, and that bonded with Cletus Kasady to become Carnage. Because it was such an insignificant little bit, there was kind of Venom had no kind of emotional attachment to it, so there was no telepathic link. Whereas obviously with other offspring of Venom or the symbiotes, there's a telepathic link, so it can track where they are. But that didn't happen in Carnage, so it was resistant to it. So he ended up escaping prison with the Carnage symbiote, committing more murders and brighten in blood Carnage at the crime scenes, where it brought him to the attention of Spider-Man, where they battled for the first time, but Spider-Man was unable to defeat him, so he had to call upon Venom to give him some backup. So that was their kind of anti-hero pact or whatever, like, yo, help me out. He was defeated by sonic weaponry, but the differentiation is that the symbiote bonded in Cletus's bloodstream, so it couldn't willingly just be torn from him. So it was seen to be destroyed, but really it laid dormant in his blood. He was then sent to the Vault, a prison for supervillains, and then he was taken to Ravencroft for experimentation, where a doctor drew his blood, and that obviously caused him to re-emerge and then become Carnage again.
Right, so that's basically the main difference between him and Venom. Is that you were talking about earlier? We'll get to the different hosts and whatnot. Really, it's not like with Venom. There aren't about a different host. There have been people this symbiote attached itself to, but it will always go back to Cletus Kasady. Yeah. That's what he wants to be with. You know, we talked before about Venom and how the suit always wants Spider-Man, but Spider-Man doesn't want that, so it attaches itself to other people for a long period of time. Obviously, Eddie Brock being a big one. There was Matt Gargan, and then there was Flash Thompson. I think there's another one now. The Cletus Kasady is who the symbiote always wants, the Carnage symbiote. That's they're attached, they're one. That's who he'll always go back to. So he will. There was at one point, I think the last time I read a Carnage story, he died. Like, he literally died, and it was a doctor like killed him in a bid to like get the symbiote to bond with him, but the symbiote just went right past the doctor and brought Kasady back to life. That's who it wants.
Yeah. So yeah, after kind of re-emerging as Carnage in Ravencroft, he recruited an army: Shriek, Demogoblin, Carrion, and Doppelganger to take over New York, where he faced...
That was Maximum Carnage.
Yeah, where he faced off again with Spider-Man, and eventually they were all drawn off, and that's kind of been the character history. A part of it, again, Carnage's spawn branched off and created the character Toxin. Any other main storylines that you're familiar with?
Well, to be honest, there's been a few down the years, but Maximum Carnage was pretty much the apex, the symbiote thing. Like, both Carnage and Venom, it was, like we talked before, Venom was massively popular. Carnage was kind of a reaction to that, and that story was pretty much the apex of both of them. Obviously, Venom has stuck around and with different people and whatnot, but he's never quite been as popular as he was back then. Every Carnage story after that has essentially been a bit of a repeat, even to a point where you spoke about earlier, it got ripped in half. That was in the New Avengers during a time when Marvel were trying desperately to make the Sentry a cool and relevant character, but no one was buying it. he flies Carnage out into space and rips him in half, and that was it. And he stayed dead for a good few years, 5-6 years or something. And then they brought him back, and it's a bit like Flash Thompson. Like, he didn't have any legs anymore.
Yeah.
But the symbiote gave him legs again. But apart from that, it's just kind of bounced around the place. It's not as important as Venom, so he doesn't appear as much. He's a villain, he showed up, he does the same kind of story again, then he goes away.
Yeah. So, in terms of abilities, pretty much the same as Venom, you know what I mean? He can change his colour, he can kind of change the suit into normal clothes, and if he wants to kind of activate the suit or whatever, all he has to do is bleed. Change his size and everything. He's got a healing factor, and it gave him artificial legs after Sentry tore him apart. He's more resistant to sound than Venom is, but less resistant to heat. So sound affects him less, but heat affects him more than Venom. And unlike Venom, he can project the symbiote in the form of weapons like knives, axes and stuff like that out of his body into people, but after 10 seconds it just kind of disappears into dust. He can also warp his appendages into arms and legs, like 20 nail syndrome. Joe, where your nails go all crusty and it splits off so it looks as though you got 20 nails. It's kind of like that, so he can split his fingers into about 3 or 4 other fingers and turn them into knives and stuff. Or different arms and legs and even wings at some point. The abilities of the Carnage suit is enhanced naturally because of how kind of messed up Cletus Kasady is. The healing factor's kind of debatable. They were kind of whether it's on the same level as Venom or whether he can kind of heal different limbs and stuff like that as an extension. But obviously, after he was ripped apart by Sentry, it was kind of debated because he didn't just grow his legs back. It was kind of artificial.
It must be pretty powerful though, because it's like I said, he had brain damage and it cured that, and it brought him back to life. So I guess it depends on who's writing it, I guess.
Yeah, so to finish up, his other hosts have been John Jameson for a while. He also bonded with Ben Reilly to become Spider Carnage, and he bonded with Silver Surfer to be Cosmic Carnage, and the female was Dr. Tanis Neves, who he bonded with for a while.
Again, they were all very brief.
Yeah, so any other last facts you'd like to add in?
Well, not really, just, will we see Carnage in the movie? If we're gonna, surely it's gonna be this Venom thing coming up.
It'd just be a kind of after credit scene where you see a bit of it plop off and then it turns red or something. I mean, Carnage's costume looks way better than Venom. Yeah, Venom's big and bulky, but Carnage is still kind of thin and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Venom looks cooler, but the thing is, there's no way he's gonna pop up in like a Marvel movie. He's too. I mean, at least
it's kind of dark.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Very dark.
If this Venom, this is purely a rumor, but if the rumor about it being like an R-rated movie is true, then
sci-fi
I can
horror.
see that. Yeah.
So that would be pretty cool. But yeah, you'd have to put it into a dark place to kind of touch. I mean, because to barely hint and stuff like that on kind of how bad Cletus Kasady is, you don't really kind of get an accurate kind of representation of him, because obviously from the brief history we've given here, he is way messed up. You know what I mean? So it'd have to be R-rated. So that is the skinny, the 411, all the info on Cletus Kasady, aka Carnage, the Marvel Comics character. I'm Sam.
I'm Matt.
And we'll see you in the next edition of the Superhero Files. But for now, we're closing it. See you in the next episode.